Lochayamudiraye Nastaprayasu Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavate Sevaya Bhagavate Uttamasloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki. So good morning to everybody. We've just begun reading 6th canto, and following the 5th canto, hearing about all of the hellish planets that exist in this material creation. And just as this planet is inhabited by millions of different living entities, also in these hellish planets, they are also populated with so many varieties of living entities. What forms they take, we don't know. But how do they get themselves in this situation where they fall and wind up in such uncomfortable circumstances? So here in this 6th canto, we are going to read about Ajamil. This story of Ajamil took place a long time ago. It doesn't say exactly when, but Sutta Goswami felt that it was important that when addressing the sages in Nyamashranga, he bring in this topic because this story, which is not fiction, it can be very relevant in how we progress in our spiritual life. Today we have 2 verses, verse 23 and verse 24. For verse 23 there is no purport, so I'll just read the verse and then the translation. Evam nivasata tasya laya anasya tatsutun kalot tyagyan mahan rajan astasityayu saman. Translation. My dear king, while he thus spent his time in abominable, sinful activities to maintain his families, many sons, and at the age of 88 years, his life passed by. So, text number 24. Tasya pravayasya putra daste santuyo Avraham balo narayano namana ritros chadhaito grisham tasya pravasyasya putra dasate samtuyo avayam balo narayano namana ritros chadaito brisham Prabhaya Sasya Putra Dasyate Samtuyo Avyamaha Bhalo Narayano Namana Pitros Chadaito Grisam. Someone else? Tasya Prabhaya Saputra Dashate Samtuyo Avyam Bhalo Narayano Namana Pitros Chadaito Visham. Balo Narayano Naman Pitros Chadaito Grisham. Mataji's Asya Praya So Putra Dasate Samtuyo Bhavam Balo Narayano Namana Pitros Chadaito Grisam. Tasya Prayasa Putra Dasyate Samtuyo Avyam Bhalo Narayano Namana Tasya of him Prayavasaha who was very old, Putras sons, Dasa 10, Tesam all of them, two, but yea, the one who, Avamaha, the youngest, Bhala, child, Narayana, by the name Pitros, of the father and mother, Cha, and Dayataha, dear, Brisham, very. Translation. That old man, Ajamil, had 10 sons, of whom the youngest was a baby named Narayan. Since Narayana was the youngest of all the sons, he was naturally very dear to both his father and his mother. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. The word pravayasa indicate Ajamil's sinfulness because although he was 88 years old, he had a very young child. According to Vedic culture, one should leave home as soon as he has reached 50 years of age. One should not live at home and go on producing children. Sex life is allowed for 25 years, between the ages of 25 and 45, or at the most 50. After that, one should give up the habit of sex life, and leave home as a varnaprastha, and then properly take sannyas. Ajamil, however, because of his association with a prostitute, he lost all Brahminical culture and became most sinful, even in his so-called household life. That is why we have the Varna and the Ashram system. Ashram means with rules. The brahmachari studies up to the age of 25, living a very strict life, not talking to any woman, and if they do, they must look at them as their mother. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvaseshi Sunyavadi Paskachya Desatarini. So we can see here that Ajamil has got himself in a very precarious situation. At this time, there was one Ajamil, but in today's society, if we look around, there are hundreds and thousands, if not millions, of Ajamils who exhibit the same characteristics. Ajamil was born into a cultured Brahminical family. He had even accepted a good, chaste woman as his wife, but due to his lust and his inability to control his senses, he fell down with a prostitute and repeatedly begot children with this prostitute. So in this situation, Ajamil was always feeling, oh, I am so satisfied with my children. But in reality, if one has a child with a prostitute, according to Vedic injunctions, that child does not belong to the man who begot that child, but is the property of the prostitute, because that is her profession, using her body, selling it for personal gain. We can see that in Srila Prabhupada's purport, he is making concessions for sex life, because estrogen and testosterone are like opposite poles of a magnet. Immediately they are drawn together, and this is very difficult to withstand these urges. So in the Varna and the Ashram system, allowances are made in order for us to, within these material bodies, further our advancement in spiritual life. So there is some concessions made where sex life is not prohibited, but is allowed. But ashram, as Srila Prabhupada says, means with rules. There are rules for brahmacharis, as Prabhupada explains, that they live under very, very strict conditions, practicing vairagya, practicing austerities, and not associating at all with women, because these become a distraction and their focus on spiritual advancement is interrupted. So there's a very good story from Chaitanya Charitamrita about Chota Haridas. He was a very melodious singer and would join together in Lord Chaitanya's kirtans, singing very nicely. But he was a brahmachari, and the duty of a brahmachari is that they work all day for the benefit of the guru, and with whatever proceeds they get, as in the forms of donation, they come back to the temple and they give to their spiritual master. So Chota Haridas was out collecting grains, rice, and went to the home where there was a very lovely young woman, and Chota Haridas lustfully looked and desired to be with this woman. And when he returned back to Lord Chaitanya's camp, Lord Chaitanya had already heard of this and told Haridas to leave, and that he never wanted to see him again. So reluctantly, Chota Haridas left the camp, and many of Lord Chaitanya's close associates pleaded with Lord Chaitanya to please allow Chota Haridas to come back. He's such a wonderful kirtan singer. And Lord Chaitanya closed his ears and said, "Stop this nonsense talk. If you continue talking in this manner, I will leave and I will never come back." And so they dropped this subject, and out of moroseness, Chota Haridas, and from his separation from Lord Chaitanya, went to the Triveni River, which is in Allahabad, where they have Kumbh Mela, and he drowned himself. And one day, Lord Chaitanya asked of Chota Haridas, and he was told that he had committed suicide. And he said, "Oh, that's very good. Just see how strict and sincere he was." Because he was wearing the garb of a brahmachari. He was being hypocritical. Saffron color means renunciation. Jai Shri Shri Gaur Nitai, Jai Shri Krishna Balaram, Jai Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundar Lalita Vishakadeva. So this color, saffron, it means renunciation, and that ashram has the rules and regulations ascribed in the Shastra, which they must follow. And if one puts on the dress of a sannyasi or a brahmachari simply for show, this is hypocrisy, this is cheating. The verse that says it's better to be a sincere sweeper of the street than a charlatan meditator who simply acts in desire of getting money. So there are many like this. But on the same hand, Shivananda Singh's wife approached Lord Chaitanya and she offered her obeisances, and he noticed that she was with child. And so Lord Chaitanya immediately began to praise her and telling her of what a wonderful child her and her husband will have. And once the child is born, please come every day and I will give my remnants as prasadam for the child to eat. So why? It's not a double standard. It's that Shivananda Singh was in the Grihastra ashram, and he was dutifully following the prescribed rules and regulations that were mandated for someone in that ashram. So there was no enmity or hate from Lord Chaitanya, because he wasn't a pretender. He was acting according to the Vedic injunction. So Ajamil did not take this path, and he learned so much and so many abominable things in order simply to make his livelihood. But still, by the grace of Narayan, how he was elevated, that his Ithashta, the history that will be recited by Srila Sutta Goswami. Krishna consciousness is very powerful. That is the motive for his narrating Ajamil's deliverance. So here it is that Evam Nishvashta. Everyone is Tatsuta, attached to their children. So are there any parents here who are not attached to their children? No, you will not find this. Even in animal life, the mother, in animal life more so than the fathers, but in some animal species, they share the responsibility of rearing the child. But in the human form of life, the mother and the father, because of this union, this sexual desire, and this production of child, they become overwhelmingly attached. And the father normally feels that it is his obligation and duty to provide for his family. That's why so many men every morning get up and they get dressed and they go out and they work very laboriously at jobs they don't like, just in order to get some money for sustenance for their children. There was one professor when Srila Prabhupada was going to college, and they studied a book from Professor Marshall, and this professor proclaimed that economic development begins with family affection, and based on this, people will work, leaving aside the fact that all living entities are going to be engaged in some type of activity. But his conclusion was that the motive for working, for getting up in the morning, is to make money so I can feed my family, I can provide clothes, I can provide education. And we know this to be untrue because work is there, but work simply for the family is not recommended. Work is meant for who? Work is meant for Krishna. That's why we are doing Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga means serving the Lord. And this is the constitutional position of the living entity. So here Ajamil is so attached to his family, and his material bondage is that family affection. It's not that one has to give up family life, do away with the Grihastha ashram. But just as in brahmachari life, there are rules and there are regulations which one must abide by. In the Vedic civilization, it is designed in such a way that we can choose a platform that is suitable for us. Some of us can remain brahmacharis and become sannyasis, but most they will choose to raise, to marry, and to have children. But just like with Shivananda Singh, you must follow rules and regulations. And in Srila Prabhupada's purport, he was very adamant in saying that sex life in Grihastra ashram is allowed from the age of 25 to 45 and maximum 50. And then at that time it must be given up. And you go into the next ashram from Grihastra. What follows Grihastra ashram? Varna Prastha, yes. So what does Varna mean? Varna means forest, and Prastha means one who goes. So in many cases, when the husband and wife give up their conjugal relations, they go to the forest together and they visit holy places, and they learn again detachment and listen to saintly persons. But at one point in their travels, the husband will say to his wife, "Now it is time for you to go. You go back home and you live with our son. He will take care of you, and I will take sannyas." So these instructions here and these examples are given to us in order for us to get out of this material world. Not like Ajamil, who at the age of 85 years old, is there anyone in here 85? No. Some of us are getting close to that age, but still wanting family and children. So this is abominable. This is not the proper behavior, and one's material bondage becomes stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. So what is today in our society, even within ISKCON, we see elderly devotees. I have examples of many that I could give you that they are well beyond the age of 50, but they are taking a wife again. Yes, let me marry again. And usually it's not an old woman, no, they want a newer model, so they trade it in for a younger model, discarding their previous wife. And if by chance there is any progeny that is produced, these children become Varna Shankara. What does that mean? Unwanted population. So that could be said for almost all of us. We weren't planned or meditated upon and sanskaras performed in order for us to be born. I can remember even myself, I was a young boy, about 7, and my mother said to me, says, "You were a mistake. I didn't want you." At that time, abortions were illegal in America, but today abortions are being carried out by the thousands and thousands every day. How many children are, before they're even allowed to leave the womb, are scraped with a sharp knife out of the womb of their mother, just so these two people can continue to enjoy that fleeting, temporary so-called happiness of their union. But in Ajamil's case, he would be considered a kripana. A kripana means what? A miserly person. So why is he miserly? He is miserly because he was not satisfied. He wanted more and more. He wanted to enjoy this woman. He wanted more children. He wanted the affection and the love that come from, having children. So this is being miserly or greedy. And as a result, all of his Brahminical qualities that he had trained up as a youth were lost, and he became so degraded that resorting to thievery, vandalism, all sorts of mischievous activities, just in order to hear the sweet voice of his young children calling, "Mommy, Daddy." Oh, how much pleasure they would take when the mother hears this and the father hears this. Every one of you, when you were small, your parents were waiting for the first utterance to come out of your mouth. And, "Mommy," oh, and they become so elated and satisfied and happy. Oh yes, this wonderful little child of mine, look how sweet and lovely they are. And Ajamil was in this situation. He did not want to give up this. But Chandika Pandit, who Srila Prabhupada quotes very often, says that we must become dhira. Dhira, what does this word mean? Sober. Does this mean not drunk? No, sober means sober in intelligence. And if one goes into the Grihastra ashram, sober consciousness means that, okay, I will have one child, or maybe 2, 3 at the most, but then I will stop and I will focus my concentration on spiritual life, knowing well that at 50 years of age, I have to leave all of this anyway. But who is doing this in today's society? Grihastas. Who in here is a Grihasta? Yes. So you're young and you're still with your wife and you're still with your children and you're still with this. So are you an Ajamil? No. This is not the Vedic system. This means we give up because what is waiting just around the corner? Mritu, which means death. And it's there. It can come at any time. Any moment, death may come. Ajamil, at 88 years old, his death was imminent, but still, he was enamored by his young, cute, sweet little boy. So much so that his intelligence was distracted. Even though he was born in a good family, but he couldn't control his lust. All of his good qualities were gone. And he abandoned that family, ran away. And we see this again and again, every day, running away. Oh, something is too difficult or something is unsuitable. Let's run away. Let's not face that problem. But in a Krishna conscious environment, if the husband and wife conjointly work together to consolidate both of their spiritual advancement, they will be happy campers. And they will make progress. And their children also will not be discouraged, and they will also take up spiritual life. Because the dhira, or the sober person, knows very well that kala means death is imminent. It is there. Here in Vrindavan, we see so many devotees coming here to die, to leave their bodies. Some of them have made preparations, they're older, and by Krishna's mercy, he allows them to come back to Vrindavan, and because of their service to Srila Prabhupada, let them leave their body in Vrindavan. But for others, just as 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, one young boy who works in MVT, he must have been in his 20s, just on this corner was struck down by a tractor while he was riding his motorcycle and was killed, leaving behind his wife and his 7-year-old son. So mritu, or death, is imminent for all of us. And we have this intelligence where we can discern what is to be done and what is not to be done. And Ajamil is the example that we should not remain entangled up until our very last breath, absorbed in this family affairs. These married life are compared to roots of a tree, and the sustenance of the tree depends on water. So what do the roots do? The roots grow under the ground to any depth necessary in order to reach water. And then once they do this, the tree becomes very firmly fixed in that position, and it cannot be moved. And so this is family life. These are roots that are keeping you where? Keeping you here in this material world. So therefore, the Varna and the Ashram system was designed in order to allow you to fulfill certain carnal desires, to have children, but at the same time allow you also to give that desire up, because we must be free, we must escape from the clutches of this material existence. So most people, they feel that, it is their duty to simply provide for their family, which is true. But what type of provision should the husband give to his family? Money? Food? Education? No. It says one must not become the father, the husband, or whatever, unless they can deliver their wife and their children from birth and death. So in order to do this, they themselves must be serious. So Krishna consciousness is not, it's not like going to an amusement park where everything is very pleasant. There are going to be constant difficulties. So many examples are given. The Pandavas were exiled into the forest, and they were being pursued by Duryodhana, living in very harsh conditions. But because they were devotees of the Lord, in their difficulties, did they cry? Or did they abandon their faith or their love for Krishna? No, it intensified. And Hiranyakashipu is on the other spectrum. He became so envious of God. His hatred for Krishna was so much that he would be foaming at the mouth when his young son rejected him and wanted simply to chant Hare Krishna. So we can be Hiranyakashipus, or we can be like the Pandavas. So now Ajamil, he is 88 years old. And at 85 years old, he had his last son. And so, Krishna is very merciful. At a young age, he was diligent in his pursuit of spiritual life. So, I will give him the benefit of the doubt, and I will encourage him to name his last son Narayan. That way, in his foolishness, when he is lovingly, affectionately enamored by his little boy, he will constantly be calling out, "Narayan, come here, Narayan. Narayan, are you hungry, Narayan? Narayan, let's go for a walk. Narayan, you want this toy? Narayan, Narayan." And the holy name is purifying. And in this way, by constantly chanting Narayan, Narayan, all of the sinful activities that had consumed him for the larger portion of his life were eradicated simply by chanting the holy name. That's why we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare. We want to be free, and we do not want to be consumed by this phantasmagoria of this material life. And we want to go back home, back to Godhead. So Krishna, being very merciful, at the time of death, he was calling for his son, Narayan. And that's why the Yamadutas and the Vishnudutas, they came together to deliberate on who was the possessor of this soul. Would it be the Yamadutas who would drag him out of his body and throw him into punishment for all of his sinful ways? Or would it be the Yamadutas who took him back home, back to Godhead? So we will read about this. This is very nice canto. If anyone has questions, I'll stop here. Yes.
Can you speak about unwanted population?
Yes, this is Varna Sankara, unwanted population, and that is, in the most part, all of us. Because according to Vedic systems, there are different sanskaras that are performed during or even beginning before one's birth. The mother and father must do Vedic ceremonies, and then the child is born, and then at a certain age another sanskara where the name is given, and then this and that and this and that, all the way up until the very last sanskara. What is that? Do you know? When the body is on the funeral pyre, someone will take a rod or a stick and puncture the skull of that inflamed body. So when these sanskaras are not performed simply out of sex desire, because sex is one of the most pleasurable activities, even though it's fleeting, lasting only a few minutes, people will become enhanced and overwhelmed with lust and desire. Just one second. Upashtavegam. Upashtavegam is one of the pushing sensations that comes from normally a fat belly, pushing down onto the genital regions and causing one to have an agitated mind and intense desire to fulfill their sexual fantasies. And as a result of this, if they don't abort the child is born an unwanted. And when the earth becomes populated with unwanted children, what type of people are there? They are demons. They are asuras. But if you pray to Krishna and ask him, please, my Lord, give us a good son or a good daughter who will be Krishna conscious, and we can guide them and help them on their path back home, back to Godhead. But if we simply want sex and whatever happens and whatever comes out, okay, they're on their own. Let them do what they want. There is crime, violence, and the age of Kali is producing more and more and more and more Varna Shankar. So these are unwanted population, which is 90% or more, 99% of the population today. Okay? Hare Krishna. Yes.
Thank you very much for this question. And it in my mind into this unwanted population. Prabhupada said that actually principles and responsibility is something what makes us first coming on a human level and understanding our godly nature. So if we engage in sexual activity and there is some power, we should take care. But on the other side, abortion is not allowed. And it's, we are in some association, so it's killing. But on the other side, it's a very important question because we should distinguish that what is undesirable. But we desire sense gratification as one thing, so we should take care. But on the other side, sometimes it happens, because it's Kali Yuga, that the embryo develops very disfigured, and the outcoming entity makes a lot of trouble to the society, to the parents, not just that, but for that entity itself. So it's kind of medical, very deep medical problem. So maybe that point is like, you understand?
This point here is, we must understand there is guna and karma. So when a child is born disfigured in this way, medical abnormalities take place. There are many devotee children who have Down syndrome and such as this, but you have to take in the fact that it is a combination of the karma of both parents and the child. So karma is something that we cannot escape. We are all here because of karma, you know.
And just that, because nowadays we have like technique and everything is developing very nicely. We can use the original service, but when a woman is pregnant, she should go to the doctor and make ultrasound that she sees if the child develops good. But sometimes, if the child, it's not a real child developing, we have an explanation how the embryo living entity develops. So there is less harm if, like, the embryo is just 1 month and the doctor can really see it. There is a very, if it's a little bit problematic, not important like other children, then we should not do abortion. But when it's really complete, it's not a human being, it's not an embryo, sometimes it develops really...
This practice of ultrasounds and is a modern Kali Yuga technology. In the Vedic system, please let me finish. There were less likelihood of abnormalities taking place in the birth of a child because the parents were diligent in their executions of Vedic principles. But today, people, they have children because they are intoxicated. I'm not going to get in an argument about condoning abortions. So it might as well just stop.
Just want to give an example of what I'm thinking. Like when an entity is born, there are two souls, and they share, like the body, but have two other heads. So, or like three heads or something like this, where they share some part of the body, and these are complete abnormalities.
In order to avoid that, don't get married. Don't have any children. Because in reality, that is what life is all about. Someone asked Srila Prabhupada, but Prabhupada, if nobody gets married, there'll be no more people. And Prabhupada said, so what? No more people means what? Everybody has gone back home, back to Godhead. But because of karma, because of lust, because of desire, there are consequences that have to be paid. And that's the result of going into the Grihastha ashram and having children. Okay, so it's past 9 o'clock. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.